the Shift RSA. My name is Jean, and today is quite a special one. I'm reviewing a 2016 Audi RS3. So the reason that's special for me is because when I grew up, me and my dad always watched Group B rally. And some families do Formula 1, some do Le Mans, some do DTM, some do whatever, but for us it was rally. And the reason we loved it so much is because of the Group B era and the cars that brought in. And for us, the king of the Group B era, it's very debatable to some people, but for us, undeniably, the Audi Quattro S1. For me, that was the cream of the crops. And funny enough, it had the same power plant as this does. Not exactly, but more or less the same configuration. And that's a 5-cylinder turbo engine. And for me, this is almost like meeting one of your heroes, where I want to see if that engine is anything like I expected it to be. And it's really one of those cases, you know the cliche where they say, don't meet your heroes? Well, I'm meeting my hero today, and I want to see if the hype is real. So let's start her up and get going. Oh boy. So let's get all the boring stuff out the way first. Headline figures, got 270 kilowatts and 465 Newton meters, which is good for about 360 horsepower. Now the 7-speed S-tronic gearbox and the Quattro all-wheel drive is exactly the same as the one you found in the Audi TTS that I also reviewed. But the real party piece of this car the real party piece is that engine, 2.5 liters, 5 cylinders with a turbo. I think it's important to say at this point, this is not a hot hatch. It's not a super mini. It is a hyper hatch. In other words, this is the absolute extreme of what you can do when you build a hatchback, which could be considered a family car, which more than likely you'll find bachelors driving and people who really want a fast car that's still slightly practical. You can put your gym bag in the boot, you can take your friends out. But as far as trim levels go, this is the cream of the crops. It's the absolute top. So my first impressions of the car. First of all, Audi quality. I mentioned it in the TTS video, and the quality is just the very first thing that you encounter in this car. Just everything you touch just feels super premium. It just feels well put together. You can tell they're agonized about the little details. People often complain about the prices of these cars, but I think that's where a lot of your money actually goes. It actually goes towards making sure that everything feels premium wherever you touch, and I think that kind of thing is where the value shows over time. I think you'll forget how much you paid for the car many years after buying it, when everything still feels good and premium and well put together, nothing creaks. I think it feels new for long. I definitely understand the appeal of this car. Since I got in it, it felt special. You can tell it's not a normal A3. First of all, you heard the way it started, and the moment you get going as well, it really feels like you're about to have a lot of fun, and I can tell. If you see me swerving across the road a little bit, I'm not being irresponsible. I'm just trying to dodge some cyclists. I don't want to be on the news tonight, so just excuse that. Okay, let's get on to the power, my favorite part. Let's see what this 5-cylinder feels like, how that 270 kilowatt translates into speed. Oh, cyclists. I've nothing against cyclists. This is just such a beautiful driving road. Okay, that was quick. That was 0 to 100. I think that actually moved the camera. That was 0 to 100 in just over 4 seconds. Now I hate when journalists do this when they launch a car. I think it's so stupid. I think they do it on purpose to create the illusion of speed. I was not doing that. It really just knocked me back and I was off. That was crazy. I didn't launch the TTS properly, I will admit that. I launched this properly and it moves. Okay, so what we're actually experiencing here is the Haldex system that Quattro uses. So essentially what that means is most of the power can be sent to either the front or back of the car. An old complaint of RS models and hot Audis has been that they feel a bit nose heavy and they tend to understeer. In other words, you turn the wheel, but the car goes more straight than it actually leans into the corner. And the way they've combated this in this car is by actually giving it a slight rear bias. In other words, instead of the power pulling the car, it's now pushing it, which is quite a nice sensation. I wouldn't say it feels like a rear wheel drive car, but I would say that it definitely gives it a more athletic feel. And that's the kind of thing you want in a car like this. You want some of that sports car element. So as long as we're talking about the handling of the car, one thing I must say that's very important when you're going to drive this car is that you want to make sure you can tell exactly where the weight is loaded before you start getting aggressive with your steering angle, because it actually might catch you off guard and you might still experience some of that understeer. I know it sounds like a lot to take in, but essentially what I'm saying is you want to be a bit proactive in feeling out the car and seeing where in the corner you are, because the steering wheel isn't going to give you too much feedback. So essentially you want to use your whole body and feel, sort of initiate the corner, let the weight shift, and then you can really get on the power and sort of push it through. The overall feeling I get from this car, having spent some time in it now and having had quite a bit of fun in it, it really is a car, and I know it's a cliche, everyone says it, but this is definitely a car you can drive fast. Anyone can drive fast, I think. I think you could solve a Rubik's Cube while launching it and while driving incredibly fast, because the sensation that I'm getting is that, being German, I think Audi like to make sure that the product can do its job perfectly, and it does its job so well that it almost feels sometimes like it's doing your job for you, which isn't always a bad thing. Some people prefer a car that expects you to do all the work. Some people prefer a car where everything feels analog and it feels completely raw. This isn't that car. This is more a car where the driver and the car come together in the name of speed, and you can trust your machine enough to actually help you out of a pickle, to actually help you get going and to see you all the way through the process. And that's exactly what this car is. Now, I did mention something in my Audi TTS review, and I said that I understand why people would get a TTRS, but for me this is plenty. And I think, having driven the 5-cylinder now, I think when you put this engine in the TT, I think you get a completely different animal. I think there are two distinctly different products. I think this 5-cylinder with its torque, with that real grunt, is going to appeal to a completely different person. And I'm quite astounded that Audi were actually able to differentiate the two products in that way, if that makes sense. It's such a similar car, it uses the same exact platform and a lot of the parts carry over, but this one just feels different, surprisingly. So then, the RS3, the 5-cylinder engine, does it live up to the hype? Yeah, definitely. This car feels absolutely epic. I think for a hatchback, for an Audi, for something that's supposed to be very civilized, I think this car does a very good job. This car does a very good job of going fast and getting your heart rate up, but not scaring you nearly to death. Let me put it to you this way, the hype is real. We just pulled over on the side of the road now, just to chat to a gentleman in a very beautiful Mercedes-Benz SL. And his first words were, "This is like the perfect daily, hey?" And I have to agree. It's crazy how civilized this car can be when it's not in dynamic, when you're driving in comfort or whatever it is. It's very civilized, but when you want it to be an animal, you just hit the right buttons and it just changes the temperament and personality of the car. So I think the hype is real. I think this engine is freaking incredible. People complain about the price of this car, but I tend to ask myself, what are all the things that the car can do? And this car does comfort, it does speed, it does style, it does quality, it does so many things that when you tick all of those boxes, the price is going to add up, but you'll end up with a product that you can keep for a very long time and that will make you feel the same way every time. I think it's very consistent, I think it's very predictable, and as someone who doesn't part ways with their money very easily, I think this is somewhere I would like to put my money, because I know I'm always going to get a return. I'm always going to feel good. I'm always going to have a product worth enjoying, and that's a lot of fun, and that's nice to present to other people as well. I don't think this car needs to be tuned. This car does have a downpipe, which I would recommend, and I would recommend trying to get one that has the optional sports exhaust, because it does make a difference when you move into dynamic. Some valves open in the exhaust and you get a more grunty, more raw sound. I would do that. So Matt Watson from CarWow does this thing where he says, should you consider it, should you shortlist it, should you buy it? I'm going to steal that a little bit, and I hope I don't get in trouble. I think when it comes to hyper hatches, I think this is one that you just buy. Just go and buy it. Stop watching, put your phone down, go and buy one right now. And I'm going to justify it by saying this. The only other cars really in this segment is the BMW 140i, the previous one, the rear-wheel drive one, the F Series, or the F20, and the Mercedes-Benz AMG A45, and then this. And for me, the 140i is for a very specific kind of driver. You'll usually find people that are loyal to the BMW brand, that like the setup, 6-cylinder in the front, power to the back. That car is for them. I might even be one of those people. The Mercedes A45, I don't know if that car is really for anyone specific other than someone that wants like a flashy, noisy car. I don't necessarily think that that's for like real car people, enthusiasts. That's just my opinion. You could be mad at me about it. If you have one, I'm sorry you wasted your money. And then there's this car, and I think this one does all of the things that you would expect a hyper hatch to do, and I just think it's mental. I just think you should buy one. That's my opinion. That's my honest review. I'm lucky in the sense that, well, I wouldn't say lucky, but I don't get paid to do this. So no one's putting words in my mouth. No one's telling me what to say. No one has an agenda. My only agenda is to do an honest review. And my honest review of this car is go and buy one now. If I had the money, even if I didn't have the money and I had to borrow some, I would buy one, because it's just such a cool, collected, refined, awesome car. That's my most honest review. That's what I think about this car. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope I was able to give you an accurate enough description and interpretation of this car. If you've liked the video, please do me a favor, like and subscribe and comment. I really like talking to you guys and seeing your ideas and perspectives on the cars. I really do enjoy that. Please also remember to check out my other platforms, Facebook and Instagram. You'll find some content there as well. So I'd like to give a special shout out in this video to Minted Content, who has lovingly provided me with this t-shirt. So it's run by a friend of mine called Lloyd, and he takes pictures and videos and just covers content in the local car scene, which I really like, because content like that puts us on the map. So shout out to him. Thank you very much for the t-shirt. I really hope we get to do cool things in the future as well. If you'd like to buy any of his merchandise, they're available to order now on Instagram. I'll put the link in the description, and I'll put it right here. I think it's there. Please remember to stay safe on the road, and until next time.